on August the 9th, 1966, a day of great significance to all Singaporeans. For it was on that day, 1 year previously, that Singapore had assumed her independent and sovereign status upon separation from Malaysia. The Republic of Singapore, though only an island of 224 square miles, with a population of slightly under 2 million, was quick to organize and discipline herself to meet the difficulties, and a People's Defence Force had been formed and trained. More emphasis, too, was given to training youth, who form about half the population. Over 2,000 members of the People's Defence Force took part in the first National Day Parade, as well as other uniformed civilian, youth and cultural contingents. The Minister for Labour, Mr. Jack Hyun Tong, took part as a cadet officer with the People's Defence Force. So did the Minister for Social Affairs, Inche Othman Wok. Seconds before 9 o'clock, the President of Singapore, Inche Yusof bin Ishak, arrived escorted by police outriders. The President was greeted by the Minister of Defence, Dr. Goh Keng Swee, then led to the saluting dais. Present to watch, apart from the thousands who had gathered, were members of the Cabinet, Parliament, the Diplomatic Corps, statutory boards, and other dignitaries. A 21-gun salute was fired when the President arrived, and then the band in attendance, comprising members of the police band and the Singapore Infantry Regiment band, played the national anthem of the Republic, Majulah Singapura, May Singapore Succeed. The parade commander, Lieutenant Colonel R.J. Minjut of the 1st Battalion, the Singapore Infantry Regiment, invited the President to inspect the Guard of Honour. The President was wearing the uniform of Colonel of the SIR and the sash of the Darjah Utama Temasek, Singapore's highest decoration, an order of which he is head. The Guard of Honour was mounted by the 1st Battalion, the Singapore Infantry Regiment, to whom the President presented regimental colours in August 1961, just 5 years previously. After the inspection, the President, accompanied by the Minister of Defence and a military and police aide-de-camp, ordered a Land Rover to inspect the uniformed contingents drawn up on the Padang. The Padang, an open grass-covered space in front of the government offices, is in the heart of the city, flanked on one side by the seafront. It has been the scene of many parades, but none to compare with the size and colour of the parade to mark the Republic of Singapore's first National Day. After the inspection of the parade by the President, the contingents would make their way in precise order to the eastern end of the Padang. They would then march through some of the most populated areas of the city. It would be the first time in our history that the contingents would do this. After the inspection, the President returned to the saluting platform. The combined band of the Singapore Infantry Regiment and the police split into two, and the police half remained to provide music for the march past, which was led by vehicular contingents. First, motorcycles of the police mobile squad in arrow formation. These are the men who keep our republic's streets and roads safe. As with all our public servants, they come from all racial groups in our multiracial republic. Signal's Land Rovers pulling 25-pounder guns came next. Then came a group of police patrol cars keeping perfect formation 3 abreast. Their blue dome lights were flashing as they passed the President on the saluting platform. Marching columns were led by the Guard of Honour from the 1st Battalion, the Singapore Infantry Regiment. They were followed by men of the 1st Battalion, the SIR, Singapore's oldest regular unit, founded in 1957. Then, men from the 2nd Battalion, the SIR, the Armed Forces Training Institute, the 10th Battalion PDF Artillery, 20th Regiment PDF Artillery, and 1 contingent of men from composite units of the People's Defence Force. This People's Defence Force had been set up only after we gained independence 1 year previously, and most of the men had been in training for only a few months. But they received warm applause for their performance. "160 men from the Singapore Naval Volunteers Reserve. Formed first in 1934, it reminded us that the Republic of Singapore is an island, and the sea is very much a part of our way of life. They were followed by the band of the PDF, raised early in 1966. Prime Minister and other VIPs on the platform watched as contingents from our People's Defence Force marched smartly by, followed by the band of the Port Authority. The People's Defence Force consists of volunteers who receive training twice a week. Then came contingents from the Police Training School, Police Reserve Units, Police Divisions, the Gurkha Police, and the Special Constabulary, 21 officers and 2,100 men in all, marching perhaps most smartly of all the contingents. They were dressed in day-to-day working dress and drew special attention from the VIPs as well as other onlookers for their very disciplined turnout. Then came uniformed youth contingents including Army, Sea, Air Training and Police cadets. The presence and size of these contingents stressed the emphasis being placed nowadays in extracurricular activity in schools. This is necessary if our republic is to breed a generation of men and women with strength and guts to lead our society. The band of the Girls' Life Brigade marched smartly past, followed by 320 members of the organization from schools in the Republic. These girls received training similar to the Girl Guides. Among the other youth organization contingents which marched in this part of the parade were the Boys' Brigade, the Red Cross Society, Boy Scouts and Girl Guides, a couple of the contingents accompanied by their own brass bands. Over 50% of our people are under 21 years of age, with 1/3 still in school. We have a place in school for every child of school-going age, and although education in our republic is not compulsory, we have 100% free primary school attendance. Parents can choose the medium of instruction for their children, Malay, Chinese, Tamil or English, and our children are taught other languages too, so that they emerge bilingual and trilingual. This is vital if we are to be a tolerant, closely knit society. The large proportion of youth in our population provides one of the most difficult problems for our leaders, who have to plan jobs, housing and social amenities ahead with our young people in mind. "560 boys and girls dressed in white next marched in close formation in a tableau march. The boys, 320 strong, were from St. Joseph's Institution, and the girls were from 10 different secondary schools, police girls' cadet corps in the Republic. The boys carried the Republic's flags and the girls carried gay pastel shade flags. A slight breeze was stirring, but it was sufficient to make holding the flags upright a fairly difficult task, as they fluttered gently. Such had been the eagerness of these youths to participate in the parade that many of them were at the mustering points very early in the morning. After the tableau march came the combined schools choir, numbering 2,000 boys and girls from the 4 language streams. The red and yellow blossoms which they bore provided a colourful contrast with their white school uniforms. As they marched, the children held the flowers above their heads in time to a whistle. The effect was of a sea of colour, constantly changing colour. It was a display that drew rounds of applause from the invited guests and the members of the public. Another contingent which interested the crowd was a display of flag drill put on by boys from Singapore's oldest school, Raffles Institution, founded in 1823. The flags the boys carried were red and white, the colours of the Republic of Singapore. As they marched, they signalled the word Singapura in semaphore at the blow of a whistle. Another colourful contingent was from a Malay secondary school. The 320 girls performed to a traditional Malay tune. One of the most colourful performances was that of girls from a Chinese high school. They were dressed in Chinese costumes of pastel-coloured silk and danced with fans and coloured silk scarves. Next, representing the Indian schools, were 320 girls from 4 Tamil schools in the Republic. Next came an integration dance performed by 320 girls dressed to represent the four main language streams of our schools. They danced differently but to the same piece of music using tambourines and fans. "150 girls from an English secondary school and a Chinese secondary school performed a drill with hoops as they marched past the presidential saluting dais. Another contingent comprised 150 girls who carried posies of red and white, the Republic's colors. Then came the 70-strong People's Association Band. The People's Association is an organization which trains community leaders who run the many community centers in our republic. The band was recently formed, and their smart white, red and gold uniforms attracted much attention. Applause rippled round when the contingent from the Vigilante Corps marched by. These men are a voluntary arm of the police force and perform regular patrols of streets and villages at night to help maintain law and order. The multiracial People's Action Party, which forms the government in the Republic, with 42 out of the 51 seats in Parliament, also sent contingents. They carried the Republic's flag and slogans in Malay, the national language, Chinese, Tamil and English, which said, "May Singapore prosper and long live democratic socialism," the political ideology to which the party subscribes. They also carried flags bearing the party symbol of the blue circle and the red lightning flash. Other contingents came from the Singapore Works Brigade, the Youth Training and Employment Organization, sports organizations and clubs, the National Trades Union Congress representing 75% of all organized workers in the Republic, and teachers from the 4 language streams of education. There were rounds of applause too when the police band in their smart blue, white and silver dress uniforms marched up the Padang. They had been providing music for the march past, and now it was time for them to show their own smartness in marching. Meanwhile, word had spread that the marching contingents were going to pass through some of the more crowded city streets. Early on, large crowds gathered to catch a glimpse of them, and every vantage point was quickly occupied. And soon they came into view, our own defense forces, followed by the naval and police contingents. A stirring sight, and a precision performance that was greeted warmly by the citizens. It was the first time that they had had a chance, after a big parade, to see the participants march through the streets so that they could see them at close quarters. At times, 7 or 8 deep, they lined the roads, watching carefully. and they were well satisfied. The defense force had passed the most critical test, public examination, as an integrated, disciplined corpus. On the Padang, the mammoth display was drawing to a close as the town hall clock edged towards 11 o'clock. The name Singapura means Lion City, and several Chinese athletic organizations put on displays of the famous lion dance. Originating in Tibet, this dance was brought to Singapore by Chinese immigrants. Legend has it that an ancient king was given a pair of lions as a gift from the gods. These lions used to prance around the palace, amusing all and sundry with their mischievous pranks. The king directed that they be commemorated in dance. Often the lions are teased by a clown in a loose robe with a comic mask waving a rush fan. The dance is performed to the accompaniment of gongs and cymbals and drums, punctuated by the staccato crackle of firecrackers. The dancers are accompanied by flag wavers, banner bearers, and weapons bearers. Another dance which the Chinese have brought to Singapore is the famed dragon dance. Teams of dancers make the colorful fabric dragon swirl and swoop in imitation of the legendary reptile as it chases a stylized pearl, emitting tongues of flame and smoke produced by throwing handfuls of raw gunpowder past a flaming torch. The parade was over, and the presidential car drew up in front of the City Hall steps to take the president back to the Istana. It had been Singapore's biggest parade ever, and had shown what Singapore could do in the short space of 1 year to organize in her first 12 months of independence. As the contingents left the area to proceed to their dispersal points, they were cheered by eager crowds. For Singapore's first National Day had to some extent been more than just an important event. It had been a vindication of all that has been spoken of in Singapore in recent months, of the efforts to produce in as short a time as possible a closely knit, rugged, organized society out of our multiracial, multilingual and multi-religious society. To build a society based on tolerance, forbearance, unity of all citizens, and willingness to work hard. In Singapore, the mood is there, and the ingredients too. All it needs now for Singapore to march ahead confidently into the future is a sustained effort, not just from the elected leaders, but from each and every citizen.